As the format goes, let me introduce ICDA and introduce ma'am, and then I will hand over the session to ma'am. Namaste and good evening to members from the art community, dancers who are performing, and our global audience. We'd like to take a moment to recognize the founder of ICDA, late Shri N. Gopakumar, whose vision has brought us together and the artists across the globe to share and experience art together. Formed during the onset of the pandemic, ICDA network is now approximately 2,000 members strong on WhatsApp, besides handling a 10K footfall on its social media handles. The team hosts lecture demonstrations, coffee chats with eminent gurus, giving global audience a chance to interact and learn. Now let me introduce ma'am to all of you. Of course, it is like introducing diamond to an Indian, which is not at all required, but still, as the format goes, let me introduce. Priyadarsini Govind ma'am is one of the foremost Bharatanatyam dancers among the current generation. Trained by two stalwarts, Kalaimamani S.K. Rajaratnam Pillai and Padma Bhushan Srimati Kalanidhi Narayan, Priyadarshini ma'am has imbibed this art form from the best. With her natural aptitude for Abhinaya, coupled with her passion and dedication to the art, Priyadarshini ma'am has become a flag bearer for Srimati Kalanidhi ma'am's Padam repertoire. Priyadarshini ma'am's nritta and pure dance is intense and vigorous. A dancer known for her adherence to tradition, ma'am manages to seamlessly blend new choreography with traditional, thereby gently redefining the boundaries of Bharatanatyam repertoire. Ma'am has been performing in prestigious venues all over India and globe, taking Bharatanatyam to many major international and national festivals as soloist. She is actively engaged in performing, creating new repertoires for dance and teaching. Among her recent works are a unique set of instructional DVDs for Bharatanatyam, conceptualized and created for Kala Kriya, covering the entire Bharatanatyam Margam, as well as focusing on capturing and documenting Kalanidhi Narayan Mami's teaching and practice of Abhinaya. She has collaborated with several top-notch artists from around the world, such as Leela Samson, Umayalpuram Shivaraman, Bombay Jayashri, T.M. Krishna, Aruna Sairam, Elizabeth Petty, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, and Gauri Ramnarayan, to create diverse and delightful artistic experience for her audience. Ma'am has been honored with many awards for her excellence and service in the field of arts, which include Nritya Kalanidhi by Madras Music Academy 2019, Sangeet Natak Academy Award 2012, Yuva Kala Bharati, Kalaimamani, Nritya Chudamani, to name a few. Ma'am has also served as a director of Kalakshetra Foundation between August 5th to August 5th, 2013 to June 19, 2017. Ma'am is the founder and director of Nava Darshana, an initiative that teaches dancers to view dance holistically. Through its unique programs and activities, Navadarshana enables a dancer to evolve into an artist by gently expanding their self-imposed boundaries to explore, create, and excel in their artistic journey. Most recently, she has conceptualized, created, and produced a dance film, Yavanika, the first of its kind. She has also formulated a structured way of learning Abhinaya, learning ladder, that's being broadcast on Kala Kendra. So, over to you, ma'am. Please take over. And it's been an absolute pleasure welcoming you to this show. I hope everybody who is participating here will have very key takeaways. Thank you so much, ma'am. Welcome once again.
Thank you, Lavanya. It's a pleasure to be here, to meet all of you on this platform. And I'm especially happy to share this process and the concept the why and the how of Learning Ladder with all of you. Learning Ladder is the result of the years of learning my years of learning as a student, teaching, because Kalanidhi Mami always encouraged all of us to start teaching very early. So I think I was barely 20 when I started teaching Abhinaya. Teaching and then performing. Performing gives you such invaluable understanding of how to communicate. And composing, composing dance for compositions. So all these, the years of all this experience, out of all this is Learning Ladder. It's really something that I would like to share with all of you, share the learnings I have had. I hope it will be useful. Now, the reason why I'm going to show you, we have, because it's being shown online over the OTT platform of Kala Kendra. We have shot, I think we've broadcast 4 episodes so far. Now, when in all the workshops that I have done and in all the years of teaching, we learn Nritta in a very structured way, isn't it? Like there is a step-by-step approach. You start with Adavuls. You don't just jump into a composition. But whereas for Abhinaya, you learn the technique of Abhinaya through the composition. And so for me, this has always been, kind of raised the question as to whether, like Nritta, we can have a formulated way of learning or teaching Abhinaya. And also, teaching Abhinaya is extremely complex. At one level, you can simplify it, but as you go deeper and deeper into it, the whole concept of Abhinaya itself is so vast and its imagination at play that it is very complex. So how do you break down these complexities, right? After all, all of us had the opportunity of learning over a period of time. We used to do 4 to 5 classes in a week, and then the classes really didn't have a time limit. And that kind of learning in today's world is not very common, isn't it? That kind of learning that we had. And I feel that the advantage of that learning was it gave us time to understand, gave us time to immerse, for the art to marinate, etc. But today, everything has become, the needs, the requirements are quicker. There is a time expiry period for everything, isn't it? Or rather, you want everything yesterday. Now, that's not art unfortunately does not lend itself to that kind of learning, but still, to understand and adapt to the times, is there a way? Is there a way to learn and teach Abhinaya in a structured way through modules? And also, how do you break down the complexities of Abhinaya? Like now, for instance, the breaking down of complexities or understanding the nuances and really internalizing them happens over a period of time. Now, is it possible to break it down and make it like a part of a structured learning? That was one of the things that has been on my mind for a long time. Now, at the same time, one has to be very careful because Abhinaya is to do with the imagination and it's very highly individualistic. So while creating this process of structured learning, we cannot take away that quality, which is really the heartbeat of Abhinaya. So how do we manage this? How do we face these and handle these challenges and still create a structure that would help a student prepare to face or learn a composition. That was one of the things, that was the thought behind this whole learning ladder modules. I would like to share with all your permission the excerpts from the introduction that we have shot, and then throw it open for questions, or maybe after the excerpt, we'll go into the first episode. I'll just give you a glimpse of the absolute first level of step, or the first step that we have done. Okay.
Ninidaba magari gari takajam takadam takarum takani nidaba magari gari rima padani tam tadinginatum rima padani sa tam tadinginatum rima pada padani rima padani sa di dani dani daba daba magari rima padani sa di ma navada
Namaskaram. Is it possible to learn or teach Abhinaya without necessarily going into a composition? The common practice till now is, whenever we teach Abhinaya, we address it directly through a composition. Whereas in Nritta or pure dance, there is a codified structure of learning, where we start by training the body in the very basic steps or movements, go into more complex combinations, and only then do we start learning a composition. But in Abhinaya, we learn the technique of Abhinaya during the course of learning a composition. So, can we learn Abhinaya in a codified, structured way outside of learning a composition? Yes, it is possible. And that is what we're going to be dealing with in these sets of modules. So, what will these modules contain? We will start with the smaller components or building blocks that will help the student face a composition with a better understanding of technique. And what are these building blocks for Abhinaya? In any language, you first learn the alphabets, then you learn the grammar, and only then you learn how to use the language effectively for communication, isn't it? And Abhinaya is a language. In a conversation, when I speak to you, you need to understand the words I am saying, isn't it? What forms the words in Abhinaya are the movements of the different parts of the body, the torso, the head, that are used for communication. For example, the eyes, the eyebrows, the head, the lips, the neck, the shoulders, etc. These are our basic tools that carry potential for meaning. So, we start by learning how to use the different parts of our body, what we call the angas, upangas, pratyangas. We understand the range of possible movement. We start to understand how to practice using them in different ways to convey simple meaning. We also learn how, when you change the use of these tools, the meaning of what you convey changes. So slowly you learn and understand how to communicate effectively. So then we move to understanding the method of using these tools effectively. For this, we have some basic principles or techniques like focus of the eyes, projection, sustaining an emotion, intent, directing the gaze of the audience, etc. Are building blocks the only components of the language of Abhinaya? Knowing the words are not enough for us to speak in that language. We have to know certain basic rules of how to bring these words together to form sentences, how to string these sentences together to form an effective story. This is called visualization. In Bharatanatyam, we work mainly with lyrics composed to music. So in this case, visualization will mean understanding the lyrics, understanding the music, understanding the characters thrown up by the lyrics, understanding the emotion inherent in these lyrics, and understanding and then bringing them to life and drawing the audience into this experience. So the training then expands into how to construct a visual sentence, which is very different from a spoken sentence or a written sentence. Understand different elements like character, context, what is necessary for a language like punctuation, and in the case of visualization, the use of breath, etc. And most importantly, to train the imagination, which is really the bedrock on which visualization stands. Once you are aware and familiar with these different components, is one fully ready to handle a composition? Abhinaya is a language. It's not a formula where you're given the rules, you plug it in, and then generate a result. These set of modules is about introducing the student and the teacher to a way of thinking about Abhinaya. You then have to build on it. Nothing in art is a ready-made solution. Art is individualistic. That is the beauty of art, isn't it? So recognizing this, in addition to the main set of classroom sessions that will be offered to you as learning tools, we'll also have supporting material that will allow a personalized component to enhance the learning process. So we'll have pre-recorded group discussions, question and answer sessions with a focus group of teachers and students who have engaged with the classroom video sessions. This will most likely address any preliminary questions you may have after watching the classroom sessions. I'll also be having live interactive sessions with you to expand the discussions and to help you use the tools more effectively. So who are these modules designed for? This approach of learning Abhinaya in a structured manner is designed to help all early learners of Abhinaya, irrespective of age, and certainly teachers who teach Abhinaya. This whole exercise is about analyzing the process of Abhinaya. which in turn helps you understand what you're doing as a dancer and also enhances your understanding for effective communication. So therefore, this is something that may be of interest even to those among you who are experienced artists. Is this only for Bharatanatyam dancers? I have of course been trained in the classical style of Bharatanatyam, and Abhinaya is a very integral component of Bharatanatyam. But the technique that I have been trained in is not specific to or limited to be used only in Bharatanatyam. What this technique fundamentally This is just a brief introduction, and I'm sorry there's been a lag. Did you all find it confusing or disturbing with the video and the audio? Were you able to follow the introduction?
Ma'am, we are so used to all.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I feel that we were able to correct.
You were able to follow it?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
okay, thank you. So Lavanya, you've got the video for the, before we go on to the, I'm just going to show you a sample module of the first step. Is there any questions? Are there any questions that any of you have that you would like to ask before we go into the first demo? Thank you, Charanya. Thanks for all those who have messaged that it's good. Yeah, thank you. It's all good. Any questions that you would like to ask? You can open your, they're allowed, I mean, people can open their videos and audios and ask.
Ma'am, we have Srija asking her. Srija, please.
Yes, Shrija. Yes, Shrija.
I'm learning dance too, and when I do Abhinaya, when I show anger, I always smile. So how can I stop that?
Okay. So, you know you're smiling. You know you're smiling. So what do you do when you're asked to do anger? Do you think of something that makes you angry? But you still smile? Oh, why? Why do you think you're smiling?
When I show my face to audience, it makes me like shy. So
Ah, okay. Is it on stage or is it in class?
in class, both times I feel shy.
Okay, so you feel shy, right? So actually that's why we are doing these modules, Shrija. This is why we do it. Because the more you practice, from the beginning, step by step, then the more used you become to expressing, to communicating, right? And then you forget your shyness and then you start concentrating on what you need to communicate. Okay? Thank you, Shita. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Anybody else would like to ask any question?
Namaste, ma'am. This is Garima Chavan.
Namaste.
I would like to ask you that how to manage the flow of the Abhinaya. Like if we do the transaction from Raudra to suppose Hasya, so how do we make it a flowy thing? Can you please tell something about it?
Yeah. So Abhinaya is about connecting the thought to the emotion. How you communicate the thought in your head, right? So first of all, when you have a composition, you have the lyrics. The lyrics give you a picture of what you need to communicate, right? So then what happens is, in your mind, there is a visual of the story, whether it's the character, whether it's a situation, what emotion, etc. All those details create a visual in your mind. It's your understanding of the lyrics, isn't it? then what happens is, how do you communicate it? When the music, there is a oral structure to it. There is a musical structure that the lyrics are framed in. And you have to create the visual in that musical structure through the lyrics, isn't it? Now what happens is, while you have a visual picture, every word of the lyric has to have a thought in your head as to what you want to communicate. For instance,
Namaskaram.
composition,
Welcome to this session.
I'm sorry.
no problem. Garima, do you know any composition? Can you mention any composition that you know?
Uh, for example, Dashavatara, like if we do Narasimha and if we do Vamana, for example.
Vamana.
So
Okay.
yeah.
So
So if we are doing the transition, so yeah.
So when you're doing Narasimha, then you do Vamana, isn't it? Now what am I thinking? I do Narasimha. In that moment, what is my thought? I try to bring the character of, or the emotion and the anger of the Ugra Narasimha. And then from there, I have the character of Vamana, asking for 3 steps. So what is common between both? The thought of Narasimha and the thought of Vamana.
Yeah.
I should not take time. When the lyrics say Narasimha, the thought automatically happens. When the lyrics say Vamana, the thought automatically happens. Okay, so that is what you're training in. You're training to emote. How do you emote? You are bringing, you're communicating the emotion of that thought. How do you do that? You think the right thought in your head. Narasimha, he is fierce. He is full of anger. Vamana, he is small. He is very, very clever. So you internalize the characters. Okay. When you have internalized the characters, when you say Narasimha, that thought will bring out the character. When you say Vamana, that thought should bring out the character. And what we are doing in these modules is training how to switch characters, how to, like what is the grammar in Abhinaya? What is grammar in a sentence? The way you use punctuations, the way you use past, present, future tense, isn't it? How do you connect sentences together? All this is grammar in a written language. What is grammar in a spoken language? The way I emphasize the words, the modulation that I use, how I pause, how I communicate, how I drive home a point, how I use silence. All that is grammar in a spoken language. Similarly, visual language has its own grammar. So that is what will be one of the modules that we are dealing with. In that, we'll also be talking about how to switch characters. Okay, essentially to, give a very short explanation, it is, if the thought is clear in your mind and you're able to connect it to the visual, you'll be able to communicate. It is training, Karima. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Anybody else, or shall I go to anybody else would like to ask any questions? Okay. I'm assuming that it's good. Okay.
Ma'am, shall I go ahead and play the next video?
Yes, please. So what we are playing is the first step, right? As to it's about how do you focus on the object or the person in front of you? How do you connect? Just the concept of connecting the thought to the emotion. Okay, this is just the basic, the introduction of all these concepts. Okay, let's just try.
Let me open the video and then start sharing screen.
Namaskaram.
Okay, I share screen now. Participants, if you observe any lag, please let me know. I can pause and then play one more time. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Welcome to this session of Learning Ladder, a step-by-step approach to Abhinaya. What I'll be teaching you in these episodes is not how to move, but the connection between movement and communication, irrespective of the dance style or the movement vocabulary that you practice. Before we go into these sessions, remember, these sessions are not a replacement for in-person learning or learning under the guidance of a teacher. This is an effort to share from my personal experience of learning and teaching that I hope will support you in your journey and expand your horizons. Namaskaram. Namaskaram, Shweta. Namaste, Auntie. Namaskaram, Shreya.
Namaste, Auntie.
So I want to introduce two wonderful people here. One, Shweta is a very beautiful, very talented artist, well known, Shweta. And Shweta is introduced, she has been trained in the style of Abhinaya, and she's familiar with this process of learning. So that is one interesting perspective. And Shreya, young Shreya, very talented, and who has not very familiar, though she's attended workshops of Abhinaya, she's not very familiar with this approach and not with the structure as yet, isn't it? So she brings in a very fresh perspective, which I think will be a huge plus for all of us. So we're going to have this discussion about this systematic way of learning Abhinaya. How we can learn Abhinaya like we learn Nritta, so that it prepares us to understand the different usages of our body and then helps us when we face a composition or when we present a composition. Okay. So we're going to talk about Drishti Bheda. And why the eyes? Why are we starting with the eyes? Because eyes are the most important part of our body that helps communicate what we want to. Eyes, we know, we say, are the window to the soul, isn't it? And when we look at people, the energy of the person, what the person is trying to say, the first thing that reveals are the eyes. What we want to hide, it's the movement of the eyes that actually reveal to our audience what we want to hide, that we are hiding something. So whether we want to say it knowingly or unknowingly, our eyes reveal it. Even if we don't want to say something, our eyes can reveal that we are hiding something, isn't it? So, and eyes in art they have been described in many ways. The eyes are used as metaphors to describe the beauty of people, right? The beauty of somebody's eyes, whether it's a woman or a man. You say, her eyes are like the spear that, a spear that finds its mark, right? To say that a spear is something sharp that hits you, isn't it? So the glance finds its mark and creates a response or a reaction. Then eyes are like the deer. What is the quality of the deer? One, it could be the beautiful eyes of a doe, or it could be the darting look of the deer, or the deer in headlights, we say that, isn't it? So even when you say her eyes are like that of a deer, you don't mean one kind of quality. So like that, then you say the eyes are like the lotus. Her eyes or his eyes are like the lotus. Does it literally mean lotus? It gives you a sense, the quality of the lotus, the beauty, the tenderness, the slight, the reddish, the flushed color, the softness, then how the petals unfurl, the fullness, the length of the stalk. There are so many qualities when you say lotus, isn't it? So like this, metaphors are used to describe the eyes. And what you want to say about the eyes depends, we use metaphors accordingly. Okay. Now here, we are not going to be describing the eyes, but we are going to understand for ourselves usage of the eyes. So that's what we meant by Drishti Beda. What are the different ways in which we can use our eyes to communicate? And when we change the ways of usage, what we're trying to communicate changes, isn't it? So it is in our control, our awareness, our direction, what we are going to communicate. Okay, so we are going to be using the Abhinaya Darpana as our source text. Natya Shastra lists out a lot more usages than the Abhinaya Darpana, and there are other texts as well, but we are going to be using the Abhinaya Darpana as our source text for practical purposes. Okay, so we've got the Drishti Vedas in theory. How do I now connect it to practice so that I can maybe communicate a meaning? I can make a meaning out of it. So for our purpose, let us take 8 basic emotions. I'm not looking at it as anything except simple basic emotions that you and I may feel. Anybody in the world, irrespective of geographical, linguistic, cultural differences, can you name them?
Love, anger,
isn't it? Love. So love is something all of us understand. Okay? Then fear, right?
anger,
Anger. So are you giving me all the navarasas or the high bhavas? Okay, anger.
wonder,
So you're all trained dancers. Okay, love, fear, anger, wonder, and we laughed, isn't it? As a response, laughter,
disgust,
then
compassion, courage.
Why courage?
Because it is in the
What would you think when, see, courage is like, it's a quality, isn't it? Why do we take courage as a universal emotion? Because we talk about valor, we talk about pride, we talk about positive reinforcement, enthusiasm, right? We can use that. We can maybe courage could mean all of that, or any one of that. Yeah, would you agree? We have love, we have fear, we have anger, we have wonder, we have laughter, we have disgust, we have courage, and disgust. No, we didn't have. What was the other one? There's one more that we are. Compassion. Okay, what about compassion? When you say compassion, why are you using compassion as a universal emotion?
And I think because in a given situation, I think we are capable of feeling for another. We're so connected emotionally that, like you said,
How is it different from love?
You don't need to show compassion It could be someone you don't love that you show compassion.
You don't know at all.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So compassion doesn't mean that you need to have a relationship with that person.
Definitely.
And that becomes, and that's something that binds all of us, that empathy that we need to have for people around us in society in general, isn't it? So we'll take these 8 basic emotions, and this is only for our own joy of an exercise, like an adventure, so that let's see how we can use the Vedas and connect it and communicate the emotion. And to connect, and instead of taking random emotions, we're taking the 8 basic emotions, which are also very, very important in dance. Okay? So we start with love. Okay. So Shweta, so we start with the Samadrishti, that is the first Veda. When we say Samam, what is it that you're doing? The movement of the eyes.
You think it's like neutral, looking straight ahead?
So when you say neutral, what do you mean? You're already trying to explain what you're expressing. What is Samadrishti? Looking ahead. Isn't it? Whether it's neutral or not depends on what you want to convey. Would you agree? What did you mean by neutral?
Maybe like in the center of the face.
Looking ahead towards the center of your face is Samadrishti. Now, how do we then use the Samadrishti to convey love? Shall we try? What did you do, Shweta? Since you are an experienced dancer, when I say convey love with your eyes, you immediately call upon your training, isn't it? But what is it that you're thinking of?
And I immediately have a thought in my mind, something that I thought, oh, how lovely, how beautiful. I am drawn towards it. But it was just a thought in my mind.
Okay, so if I want to convey using Samadrishti, love, I need to first have a thought in my mind. I don't just conjure it up out of nowhere. Okay? So the thought inside my mind then gets projected visually through my eyes. So there's a thought of love and gets projected or expressed visually. Now, but that thought has to have a trigger, no? So what is this love that you're trying to project or you're trying to express? Suppose there are children who don't really understand. Because of your experience, you're able to take just use that word love and express it. But what about young children who are early learners and they don't know, okay, express love. What does love mean to them? What do you think love means to them?
Maybe their love for their parent, something, or a toy.
Yes.
Or an animal.
Yeah. So love is something when you like something excessively, or you're passionate about something. Love could mean that, isn't it? Oh, I love ice cream. I love that movie. I love her. She is my friend. I love that. What is that? Right? So love could mean many things. And here, what we are now going to do is, what is it in front of you that you are showing love for? Which means you have to have an image in your head towards which you are expressing love. So first, the image in your head, what can the image be? What is it that you want to have? What is it that you want to show love for?
A person.
A person, okay. So the person is in front of you because this is Samadrishti, right? So first focus on the person.
Auntie, so what do I do exactly, like when I focus with my eyes, even though I have the person?
What do you mean even though you have the person?
Auntie, like even if I have the image of the person, how do I focus my eyes? I might have the picture, but what's the difference between just having a picture and focusing? So the picture's in your head, isn't it? What do I focus on? A lot of times what happens is, suppose I want to show my love for something or want to express, look at something in front of me, maybe a person. The tendency is to gaze at one spot in front of you, right? Why? Because we feel that shows intensity and the spot becomes the person. That dot becomes the person, isn't it? So what will happen is a lot of times, now in Samadrishti, you are not required to move your eyes. But sometimes when you're learning a composition, you move and then you come searching for that spot you were looking at. Isn't it? It becomes confusing. So the idea when you say focus is not focusing on a spot or a dot, but at a person in entirety in front of you. What is this person in entirety? When I'm looking at you, Shreya, I'm not looking into your eyes and focusing only on your eyes. What I'm looking at is taking in your form, taking in your face, your smile, the way your earrings dangle, the tilt of your head. Everything to me represents Shreya, isn't it? So I'm not looking at a spot, but I'm looking at this image of Shreya. That image is in my mind, which I focus on. That image, or the person who's like this, or who's wearing a red dress, and oh, he's got earrings, nice, pretty eyes, oh, what a lovely smile. But not at a spot. So think of an image in my mind which I see in front of me. Dance is about creating characters in space where none exist, isn't it? It's like magic. We are creating a world here. And here we're doing it with our eyes, with our body, with our hands, and we are creating an entire world peopled with characters, emotions, situations. So here with my eyes, I project my image and I focus on that image. I have focused that image. How on that image? How will this image become real to you who are watching me? I register. I focus and I register. And then I start expressing. Okay? That person should become visible to you. And they become visible only when I register their presence. I focus and register their presence. It's a very subtle shade or subtle movement of the eyes. It's not even like one happens after the other in a linear fashion. It's almost instantaneous. But the awareness in us helps us do that without us, having to do it in a linear fashion. Do I make sense?
Yes, I do.
Yeah? Okay.
Thank you. So this was just an excerpt from the first episode. We have these follow-along exercises, which I think Lavanya will take just a minute to download and show it. So the format is like this. We have this classroom session where we discuss each emotion, and how they think, how they focus, etc. The tools are discussed, then whether the principles. So in a very linear fashion, in a structured fashion, we introduce tools, we introduce principles one by one and explain it while we are demonstrated in the classroom session.
Shima.
Then we have, because I told you, right, the thought is very important. So for the thought to get communicated, there is a dialogue that you're thinking in your mind. that dialogue, we have it in the form of follow along exercises. Now, these dialogues are not preset. Okay. For instance, if I want to say, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? What did you do? You see the different ways I'm saying it. So I'm thinking that in my mind with the modulation. I mean, it's instantaneous. It comes with training. Okay. Like for instance, in class, suppose I say a young girl is complaining to her mother that her friends are not playing with her. Okay, that's the line. So the young girl says, Amma, all of them, they're not playing with me. So the first can be a literal communication of the line. Secondly, Amma, they are not playing with me. You see, I'm using tears. She's very upset. Then anger. Amma, all of them, look at them. They are not playing with me. You see, I'm changing the tone to anger. So first time was a literal, second, very sad, third, anger. For each, it has a dialogue, no? Amma, you know what they did? Finger pointing, using the head. This is how we write down the hands. Okay. Now, thinking the thought has to bring out that emotion. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? I'm using modulation, right? And the modulation brings out the expression. Every time I say it differently, a different expression comes out. Makes sense? Now, what we're doing is, we are doing follow along exercises where we're only going to give you a sample. These are not, you don't have to memorize the dialogues, but these are sample dialogues which will help you connect the dialogue to the communication. Okay, so let's watch the.
Sure.
Any questions? Am I clear in what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts? Any doubts, anybody? Okay. Thank you, Maithili. Shrija? Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you, Amu.
Let me share screen, ma'am.
Sure.
I think I've not opened it. Let me open it now. Just a second, ma'am.
No problem.
I downloaded it, but then, okay, let me download it. No, it's,
Yeah. So, the dialogue also depends on many factors. The character that I'm playing, the situation I'm in. So that all that comes, it becomes, the complexities are added later. Right now, it's very simple. The focus is on how do you convey the thought in your mind? How do you communicate? For that to happen, I have to connect the thought to the emotion. Okay, to effectively communicate it. How do I do that? That is what we're focusing on. We are not looking at the character, nothing. It's like, if it's Shreya who is expressing. If it's Shweta, it's Shweta who is expressing. We're not going into the complexities of situation, character, emotion, character, etc. We are concentrating only on how do you focus on the object or the person in front of you. How do you register the person or object so that it becomes clear to the audience? How do you convey the emotion or whatever you want to convey effectively through samadrishti in this case? Okay, it's an exercise for samadrishti, right? And to do that, what we are trying to do is connect the thought with the dialogue to the emotion that you're expressing. Now, why are we using Drishti Vedas? Why are we going to use Shiro Veda, Griva Veda, etc.? Because when I'm expressing, I use the eyes, I use the head, I use my neck, I use my body, etc. Isn't it? How do I become aware of the potency or the potential that each of the parts of my body have? For instance, if I want to show, if I crinkle my eyes, what happens? If I open my eyes wide, what happens? If I look to the side, what happens? If I want to grimace, how do I use my eyes? So basically, the eyes have potential, the head has potential, your neck has potential, isn't it? But to understand the potential of each part of our body, we're trying to isolate and concentrate on that part. So when we're concentrating on Drishti or the eyes, what we already have are the Vedas. Okay, it's already there documented for us. So using those Vedas, what is Samadrishti? Looking ahead. Samam Alokitam is when the eyes are moving round. Sachi is when the eyes are to the side. Pralokitam is when the eyes move from side to side. Nimilitam is when the eyes are semi-closed or closed. Different people have different interpretations of Nimilitam. Then Ullokitam. Ullokitam is looking up, the eyes looking above. Anuvrittam is looking up and down. Avalokitam is looking down. These are the basic Vedas that are given. Okay. Using these Vedas, how do we convey an emotion? Isn't it? Now, Ullokitam is the extreme, Avalokitam. Alokitam. Alokitam is when the eyeballs move to the extremities and they make a circular pattern with your eyes, isn't it? Now, changing the speed. Then the intention with which you make that circular look will change what you are conveying. Okay, so these are what we are trying to concentrate on. Using these Vedas, isolating the usage, and keeping the focus on the eyes, we are trying to connect the thought and conveying it through the eyes, conveying the emotion through the eyes. Okay?
Ma'am, I'm ready, ma'am.
Yeah.
Let me share screen.
So these are follow-along exercises that we've done. This is for
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me first take it.
Let us practice expressing the 8 basic emotions while using the Drishti Vedas, shall we? To do this, we have to keep in mind certain important steps. First, you have to imagine. What do you imagine? You have to have an image in your mind of the person or the object you are looking at and towards whom you feel this emotion. Next, you concentrate your vision on this image that you are projecting in front of you. You have imagined, you have focused. Next step, you register this person in front of you or this object in front of you so that the object or the person comes alive for the audience. You imagined a visual in your mind, you focused on the visual that you projected in front of you, you registered the visual or the object or the person and made them come alive for the audience. The next step is to express the emotion that you wish to convey. This is done by thinking the thought in your head and saying it with the required modulation. I will be guiding you with some dialogues that will help you understand this part of the exercise. While doing this, remember that you don't have to express every word of the thought that you have in your head, but you can give the essence of what you are thinking and convey it to the audience. I want to stress here that these dialogues are not the only dialogues that you can think. These are just examples that we are giving for you to connect the thought with the emotion and then to the expression. So first, you start by thinking the thought. First, imagine a person in your mind towards whom you have romantic feelings. Now, focus on the person you have projected outside. Register so that the audience can feel the presence of the person. Now, let's express with a simple dialogue. How handsome, how cute. This time, shall we try to sustain the emotion for a longer time? First, imagine, focus, register. How handsome, how cute. How handsome and cute. Now this time we'll express the same emotion, saying the dialogue in different speed or rhythms to change the degree or intensity of what we are expressing. Imagine, focus, register. How handsome, so cute. How handsome, how cute. My God, how handsome he looks. So cute. I hope you enjoyed this session. Doing these exercises help us to isolate our full awareness to one part of the body, in this case, the eyes. Although, in practice, while performing a composition, we seldom use any one part of the body in complete isolation. So this is just an exercise to make us aware of how to use each part of our body to effectively convey what we want to the audience.
Thank you, Lavanya.
Thank
So
you.
basically, each module will contain one classroom session. Then it will have, the tools described, that tools that are discussed in that module described in detail. Then it will have any principles that we are doing in that episode will be described in detail. And then you will have a follow along exercise. In the classroom also, you'll have these exercises where both, whoever is doing the classroom, they will be doing the exercises, and there'll be dialogues that we will be discussing, etc. But we did the follow along exercises separately as an addendum so that it will be of use for those who are doing the modules to practice. So, I mean, in this, I just wanted to briefly give you an idea of what this is about. Any questions that you have?
If everybody is feeling like me, ma'am, I'm like, it's a surreal experience. It takes time for me to come down to earth. Friends, please, considering ma'am's time, can you quickly ask your questions? I
Does
understand.
it make sense to you?
Of course, ma'am, of course.
I'm asking also, I would like to throw it open to the group. Yeah. Do you all have anything to add, anything to ask? It would be wonderful to
So,
have
ma'am,
your feedback.
let me ask the first question, ma'am. Always an icebreaker is very important.
Sure.
So, ma'am, so how do we like? Do we just Google Learning Ladder, or is there any like to subscribe to the courses? What is the process that we have to take, ma'am?
Yeah, Learning Ladder is available on Kala Kendra. I think, I think it's been put in the chat box. It's a monthly subscription. Where is it? Shweta's just going to share it. It's a monthly, 2 episodes are released every month. We are also trying to increase the frequency per month, but it will take us a little time. So right now, 2 episodes per month. So one on the 5th and one on around the 5th and one around the 20th. It's being released on Kala Kendra.
Yes, ma'am.
So we are we are going through it, systematically. Once we finish the basics of the Vedas, Drishti, Shiro, and Griva, then after that we're going to go into how do you, the language, the visual language, the grammar. So, and then elements like breathing, what is punctuation. So, we're going step by step. So at the end of it, you are better prepared or equipped to handle learning a composition.
Sure.
So that's the idea. Yeah.
I see a hand has gone up. Aryanjali Nadanalaya. I would suggest people to have your own names so that it'll be easy for us to call out. Please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes.
Ask the question.
Yes, Lavanya, this is your friend Jyoti Jyotish.
Hey, Jyoti.
How are you?
Good.
Lovely. You're never bad, darling. You're always good. Okay. Yes, Priya, ma'am, all that I would have like to say is that I feel blessed that I'm able to access the modules that you have put up. And because when we learned as a student, not that we are no longer students, we'll remain students for life of this art form.
For life.
Always, yes. But initially, when we learn Abhinaya-based pieces, we just restricted ourselves to just literally copying what was taught to us. But it has got so much of in-depth understanding and so much of studying or, layers that are interwoven into it. We get to know only when somebody like you explains it to us. And I'm really thankful to you for that. Seriously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For me, the world of Abhinaya is magical. And I learned from the best guru. The thing is, whatever I have absorbed, I feel it's invaluable. It is something that, we need to share. And the kind of opening of the imagination that we had as children, I think that's something that really would be of great benefit to the generation today. Because Abhinaya is something, even Nritta at least you can, your basic lines and, that you're adhering to rhythm, etc. You have a basic understanding. Of course, for everything you need, you definitely need a trained eye to watch you. But for Abhinaya, we don't know whether we are expressing what we are thinking.
Correct.
Isn't it? Most of the time, the thought stays here, it never comes out. And also, that is one problem. The other thing is, how do you effectively communicate it? You can communicate, you can be expressive, but how can you be most effective? Exploit your potential. I think for that, that is something I feel would, this actually, these modules are meant, came out of those questions.
I'll just make one more point. It is so great and so magnanimous on your part that you're willingly sharing things that you might have experienced when you were learning the process of Abhinaya, because that willingness and the wholeheartedness with which you're sharing the knowledge, that, I don't know, saluting it is a very small thing. Not many people are so willing to share their experiences and the invaluable treasure that they learn in the journey of being an artist. You know, it takes a big, big heart for that. And just to get namaskaram to you, I am literally choked. I have no words, man. Seriously, I'm telling you. I wish we had more artists who are so giving and so ready to share the knowledge, which is so important to keep our art forms alive. Seriously, I'm telling you.
I learned from gurus who were like that. So
Seriously.
we were not taught to hold back anything. So
really. Thank you, Lavanya, once again. Great session, Ma. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions anybody wants to share?
Hi, ma'am.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, my question was like sometimes the line just keeps repeating, at least like the song keeps repeating itself at least 4 to 5 times. So, and each time there are different gestures that we use to communicate, but what we want to say remains the same. So how can we modify our?
what remains the same? Sorry, I didn't get it. What remains the
I'm
same?
saying that the gestures change along with the line, like the number of repetitions that we have, but what we want to say along remains the same. Like the line keeps repeating itself at least 5 times. So I feel like what is new that we can bring into the dance with respect to the expression that will, bring some, something else to that, some fresh, I'm not able to maybe
Yeah, no,
phrase
I
it.
get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But that is Abhinaya. That is Abhinaya.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
See, the thing is, the situation can be very simple. Let's take something that's very common in all our dance compositions. A woman is angry with a hero. Very common, right? Now the situation or the seed of that composition is you can explain it in 3 words. Heroine angry with hero, 4 words. But then the lyrics give you a fuller picture. They'll give you clues as to, whether she's sarcastic or whether she's upset or she's just plain red hot angry, and the reason for the anger, whether he is replying. The lyrics will give you all these clues. Now, taking all this, you'll have to create a story in your mind. First of all, you need to know the word-to-word meaning. This word-to-word meaning will give you the story in your mind. What you're doing is not anything new, right? What you're doing is bringing the imagination of the poet to life. That's all you're doing. For that, you need to expand your imagination, because the poet has given you these words, right? The written word. The written word musically takes on a form. Visually, we are creating a story that has the written word, that has the musical form, and that is got the visual, right? We are taking it one step further than that. So for that, our imagination has to be very fertile. Now, you said, no, the same question. Why did you come here? That's what the words say, right? Why did you come here? So I say, why did you come here? Basic. I say the literal translation of the words, angry, in an angry way. Then I say, aha, you here. Why? In sarcasm. Okay. Look at him walking like this. Why? Stop. Don't need to come. You see, the same line, that line, why did you come here, will go on. That will be sung. But the way I interpret it visually, that's my thought. Okay. And the dialogue changes. So the sub-dialogue, the subtext for the line is yours. The lyrics are the poets, but the subtext for the lyrics is the dancers. And that comes out of the dancer's imagination. And it's the subtext that creates variety and makes the picture fuller. So why did you come here becomes a 8-minute composition because of the subtext. And you asked about gestures, right? We use different gestures. The gestures by themselves don't have any meaning. I know each hasta has usages, but for somebody who doesn't understand the language, the whatever form that you are performing, will not understand this gesture, may not understand this gesture, may not understand this gesture. It doesn't have any meaning by itself. Just because you show it, it doesn't have a meaning. But the moment you link it to the thought, the emotion, there. Come. See, I'm using the gesture not as a gesture, but as an emotion. And the gesture only adds, or the gesture enhances or provides a movement of the body. By itself, it does not have a meaning. Suppose I do this. It's not just the gesture, but it's the emotion that you give the gesture that gives it meaning. Okay, so to answer your question, it's the subtext that gives you the variety. And that's what you train in, your imagination trains you in that. Training your imagination is about understanding how to create the subtext. Gestures, but the lyrics remain the same. Gestures have to be infused with the meaning of the subtext. Only then they carry the potential of communication. Okay, so I hope I've addressed all the points in your question.
Go ahead, Garima. I see two hands, Garima and Varshini. Garima, go ahead.
Lavanya,
Hello,
the
ma'am.
person who asked me this question, is she clearer with my answer? Huh? Kasturi, are you okay? Did I explain it for your understanding?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Kasturi.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should have asked before. Sorry.
Yeah, Garima. Thank you, love.
Yes, ma'am. So I had one more doubt. So many times when we try to sustain our emotions, the tension between our eyebrows starts increasing, and then this dominates what we are trying to express with our eyes. So what can we do to avoid this?
See, the first rule is Whatever you think inside gets expressed, whether you are trying to do it or not. Okay. The idea of Abhinaya, training in Abhinaya is you only think what you want to express. Okay. So you don't think thought, you train yourself not to think thoughts which you have no control over, which is not meant for communication. So when you are trying to sustain, if you think, oh, the tension in my eyebrows, that is what will get expressed. But if your focus is on the subtext, if your focus is on the object in front of you, it is on the emotion, then your eyebrows will cease to matter. It is
Okay,
an
ma'am.
exercise, Garima. It is an exercise. You know, I am explaining it in these 2 sentences, but it requires training.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Garima.
I saw
Hi,
one.
ma'am. Yes. Hi, Lavanyaka. Ma'am, it's amazing to be able to talk to you. Thank you so much, Lavanyaka, for arranging this. Ma'am, see, one thing that I struggle with, it's amazing how you explain the subtext, what is the poet trying to communicate, and that's what we're trying to show. So similarly, I struggle personally with depicting characters of different ages. So if it's somebody in their mid-30s, I'm able to say, why did you come here? In my mindset. But when you have to portray a much younger person, like a teenager, or even as a child Krishna, I struggle to bring my body to become that 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, or even a 17-year-old. So what is it that we need to observe? Like, what is it that I'm trying to, you said that you need to cultivate your imagination, I know, but, is there anything in particular that I need to observe of a 7-year-old? When I see you dance, when I see senior dancers dance, it's so amazing that you're able to immediately take us into the body of that, you convey that 7-year-olds, you look like a 7-year-old, you look like a 17-year-old. So I'm not able to bring that in my body. So I was wondering if you have any exercises or tips as to what we have to do towards that.
See, the thing is, you said it, you have to cultivate your imagination, but you also, you really need to observe things around you, right? When you watch a child, you observe the language, body language, the way they use their eyes, the way they, the head movement, the way they communicate. A lot of times, I know that I am inspired by real life characters, by characters that I've seen on screen, by characters that I have read in books. So it's all this that creates an image in my mind. If I say just a 7-year-old, if it's a girl, then immediately there's a picture. It could be inspired by a child you've seen, your own sister, your own neighbor, or your child. It could be anything. But you have, or the advertisements you see on screen, right? All these help you create a picture. But most importantly, you should not try too hard. The moment we overanalyze, am I doing it right? Am I able to get that child? How will that child behave? The moment you start overanalyzing while you are portraying, as I told you earlier, only that analysis will be communicated, not the child's behavior. All the training should happen before. The image, etc., you should analyze before. But when you start expressing, all that should not come in focus. Only the image of what you are wanting to show should come. In the beginning, it may feel awkward for you. Of course, anything that we are unused to, anything outside our comfort zone, we will feel awkward in the beginning. But as you continue, your ease into getting into the character will definitely come, and that's for sure. I can tell you that.
Wow.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
Friends, in the interest of time, yeah, go ahead. Ajit, Geetanjali Ajit, if I read your name correctly. Please go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Hi, ma'am. Hello. I had one more doubt. So when you do a production in which you have to deal with a lot of pieces that has bhakti as the foundational abhinaya, and you've been practicing that for like 4 to 5
What is
months. So,
foundation, Abhinaya? Sorry.
or just base abhinaya. For example, a lot of pieces that demands
Hi.
bhakti. Yeah, yeah. And then one fine day, if you are asked to do or execute a piece that has Shringara, which is a completely different emotion, I feel like I carry elements of bhakti into the new piece as well. So how do you sort of make that transition and like for an easier process? Like, do you have any tips?
So transition is a part of Abhinaya. You can't carry the previous emotion to the next second, right? When you're playing different characters within the composition, I do Krishna and then I do Radha. I can't do Krishna and then Radha try to get into the character. It can't be that, isn't it? So as I told you earlier, it is about the thought. The Krishna should be there, the image should be there in your mind. If it's Radha's image. That is part of how you train. Even if within a line, when you're switching characters, you have to do that, then there is no question that between compositions, you definitely see the minute you take a composition, only that composition is important. It's not what you're used to. It's not the kind of thing you have done before. No. Your duty or whatever your role as an artist is about what does this piece require. That's all. It's not, and if it's about Shringara, your imagination should take over. That's what the training is about. And there are no tips. You understand, Geetanjali? There are no, it's like, it's a whole process of training. It's not like, okay, do this and you will get the transition from bhakti to Shringara. It's not that, it is not about that one point that you can think of. It's about the process of training in Abhinaya. And one of the most important rules that constantly I have heard is you are really like the water of a lotus leaf as an artist. Okay, it should touch you, but you cannot let it make you heavy and sink. It should touch you and it will slide out, because you have to move from this emotion to the next in a split second. If you're going to carry and become heavy with the previous emotion, the next second you will not be able to express. You have to be present in the moment, but your mind has to be aware of the past and the future in Abhinaya. Okay?
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was very helpful.
Jyoti, we have just 1 minute. Can you quickly go over your question, please?
Quick question. I just wanted to know from you, how do you manage to be so down to earth? There is no iota of any arrogance, any attitude, considering the stalwarts of gurus that you have learned from. I've seen so many people show so much of attitude with minuscule achievements, but I am appalled, overwhelmed to see the kind of down-to-earth demeanor that you are blessed with. God bless you for it. I'd really like to know, how do you manage this? I don't see any iota of arrogance in you, really. I would like to know that.
Oh, thank you, Jyoti. I think it's my teachers and my parents.
Beautiful.
And I think most importantly, I think art teaches you that you are just a conduit. You know, it passes through you. That's it. You don't matter. At the end of the day, right? We are lucky. See, the other thing is, as an artist, it's not every day you'll get it right.
True.
There are days when it's so frustrating, isn't it? So you have to be ever ready to receive, always open. The moment you become closed or think, okay, I know it, that's it, it will give you a tight slap.
So beautifully put. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
you.
That was a much needed slap. Most of time, and like, I hope everybody understands and appreciates. Ma'am has been sitting upright for 1.5 hours. I think that's the first thing we have to teach all our kids. I see all the bent backs, and we need support. So, thank you so much, ma'am. It's always a
Thank
pleasure.
you, Lavanya. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And uh, with this, I'd like to end the session. Everybody wants to say hi or bye. Quickly say, please. Very
Bye-bye to everybody. And thank you very much for being here with all of us. It was lovely sharing Learning Ladder with you. And I hope you find it, I hope it helps you in your journey in dance. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lavanya.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Priya ma'am. We could understand because I am not a dancer. My daughter is a dancer. So I
Okay.
could understand each and everything.
Nice. Nice.
Thank you so
Very
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lavanya.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye to everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye. Bye, ma'am.
I'm ending the meeting. Thank you so much.